do this shit. Let us know, Jake, when you're ready.
Mic check.
Mic check. Cold, isn't it? This jacket surprisingly keeps a bit of heat in.
You just coming from riding your mountain bike?
Yeah, I feel like that. I do look like that mountain bike guy, don't I? We like
Santa Cruz.
We are like, yeah, I know, mate. I got this on the Black Friday.
On the Black Friday.
In the black, yeah.
In the sale.
It's an old man thing to say, wasn't it? Right, can we mute that, Jake? In the background. Yeah, I feel like I do look like that now. No, not going to mute it. Just going to leave that running and distracting us.
Repeating this, we knew what we said.
I know, it's amateur hour, this, isn't it? What's going on? Amateur hour, this.
No, the camera's off for some reason.
Well, we'll wait until they fix it then. I'm not going to introduce the guests if there's no camera on. Right, we'll just stop this, guys. We're back. Right. Sorry about that. Can you mute that now, Jake, so we've not got any background noise?
Yeah.
Could have done that ages ago, couldn't you? Sorry about that overlap there. I'm sat here in the Galpod studio with James Dunn.
Oh, yeah.
Introduce yourself.
I'm James Dunn, and I'm a bike mechanic.
Take the piss out of me as well, saying I've just come out from mountain biking. This was a good deal on Black Friday sale with Santa Cruz. It's a nice jacket, isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Nearly now it's getting cold.
So, signed a Kawasaki deal. Been out of racing for a long time. What's going on? So, let's tell me about this new deal for starters, and all that sort of thing. Let's get that out of the way.
So really excited. Just signed a deal with the new team for next year with REVO Seven Kawasaki. So really looking forward to getting out on a bike. Hopefully within the next week or two, we should get some new bikes in and get practicing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all quick. It came around pretty quick. There was sort of talks with Revo and trying to maybe do something with another bike manufacturer, and then suddenly they got this deal, really good deal from Kawasaki to do a team for next year. So that was all happened very fast. So it's been quite a shock. I'm just very excited just to get back to racing. Obviously, after having some time off, it was kind of touch and go whether we even be racing next year. So to get this opportunity is crazy.
A lot of people with the COVID situation as well. Yeah. Teams and trying to find outside money and things like that. It's not been easy for anybody, has it?
No,
so for Mark to come back with a team. So for people that don't know, the team that James is now signed for were Revo Husqvarna. So they had a deal, didn't they? And they were doing GPs, and something happened internally, and it all sort of ended, didn't it? So I'm really happy that Mark, Sam, and all those guys have managed to pull some strings together and get a team back going. Because to be fair, they was one of the most well-run teams in the British paddock, for sure, wasn't it? Even in the GP, they didn't look out of place. With $1 million budgets.
They started in probably back in 2014. Maybe they got involved with HM Plant and Hitachi.
Can you remember before that? Even before that, Suzuki with Damon Strider.
Yeah, they used to have Damon quite a long time ago. Yeah. So they've obviously been around for a long time, but I'd say the last sort of 3-4 years they've really upped their level and brought themselves up to one of the main well-established sponsors of motocross,
100%,
British Championship, and also now in the World Championship. So
without a doubt, and it's not even like they're selling a product that benefits them. They just love it. These guys
they just purely love the sport,
love it, don't they? Revo make performance parts for Vag Group cars, so Volkswagen, Audi,
all performance stuff,
and Ford as well now. They're doing that as well, aren't they? And your father works...
He works at Revo, So,
Revo.
Really good connection with Mark and everyone at Revo. So it's nice to be working with them even closer for next year. We've built a really good friendship and over the last few years. So,
well, they know what you're capable of at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think they believe in me, and obviously I believe in them to build me a really good bike. So it's going to be a good year. I'm just looking forward to getting back on a Kawasaki.
And when he came in today, we was just discussing the new bike. And James said, "Have you seen the Kawasaki, the new 450 review? It's just come out on top in the States, hasn't it? It's the best 450.
They do they do a shootout, compare all the 450s over in America, quite a high level one. They've got like David Pingree and
I think they have
you know some really good guys.
Chris
test all the
Kiefer and
bikes.
people like
yeah,
that.
so they get some good guys on the bikes, and Kawasaki came out rated the best bike. So I'm excited to get on one and have a go on the new bike. I think I had a go on a Kawasaki maybe back in 2017.
Yeah, you had to go on a bit of a lump, didn't you?
Yeah, that was quite a while ago. So hopefully, yeah, it's going to be quite an experience to jump on one and see how
Well,
it feels.
this is our Kawasaki that we're going to be giving away soon. We did have a different bike in here, but I was told off by the powers that be to remove it and get a Kawasaki in here just for the sake of James being here. And obviously, it keeps everybody sweet.
It's fitting.
And you can win this bike. This bike is not online yet, but it will be available online. I just want to touch base on that as well. If anyone's watching and interested in what we do, we are giving away tonight a Suzuki RMZ 450, and there is about 50 tickets left on that one, and that's £25 to enter, and there was only 250 tickets, so there's only 50 left on that, and there's also a kids Revy bike as well for people to get involved in. So leave that alone for now. James, where did it all start then? Where did motocross start for you? Because I want to know. I want to build this picture up for people who don't really know. Started. Was like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm really fucking good at this, and then built through to that, and then we was all watching. Like, I actually remember being stood in the field at Matley Basin, watching you on a 125 racing Tim Geiser, who's now 2 times world champion, 3 times,
3-time world champion,
3 times MX1 world champion, going shit, that guy could be a world champion, and it never really happened. Now, take us from the start to that point. Quickly,
I think, obviously, you know, went
it's a long process.
The standard normal stages of racing schoolboys and stuff from 65s, and when I was like that age, we never really did any national racing until I got to about sort of 12, 13 on a small wheel. So,
I think that's probably better sometimes.
Yeah, we didn't. My dad never really pushed me much. You know, obviously super supportive, but we didn't really. You know, we just sort of raced when we wanted to race. No, didn't do any championships on that. So sort of took a very relaxed approach to it to start with, which seemed to work. Because then I jumped on a small wheel and decided to do one of the elite. Remember the Red Bull Elite Youth Cup?
I do remember that.
I raced that. So I won one of those.
Was that Matt Bates's thing?
Matt Bates, I think, used to run that. It was back in 2008.
Yeah.
I won the British Championship on a small wheel.
Yeah. Okay.
So I did that, and then from there I went to a big wheel, which I suddenly.
So you got pretty good in a small space of time.
I'd never really raced. I'd obviously raced, but never really done any championships or anything. And then we decided to race the Elite Youth Cup,
and it just all sort of
seemed to click together. Yeah, it seemed to go really well. And then we got a hand from Suzuki at the time to go on to a 125 straight away. So I did like 3-4 months on a big wheel, and I grew really quickly. So I just outgrew the bike so fast.
At that point, Suzuki were putting a bit in though, weren't they?
Yeah, at that stage, it was, you know, we got a lot of help from Suzuki and Paul Butler at the time. He really helped me out, you know, he gave me a lot of bikes.
Charlie Hamlet as well?
Charlie Hamlet, Luke Dean was on the team at that point. There's a few other people on it.
I was paying attention, James. I was paying attention in class.
Yeah, no, so that was a cool stage of, you know, racing. It was fun. Obviously just coming up through riding the 125, which I did a lot on the 125 at that age, at a young age as well, you know, being sort of 13, 14, 15.
I think that bike as well was a bit behind even then, wasn't it?
Definitely, yeah, definitely was, you know, they hadn't really progressed, you know, with their development on that bike, so it was a little bit behind. But then, so that was 2010, and then in 2011, so up until I raced the, you know, national British Championship, racing on a small wheel. Did a few of the depth 2-stroke stuff in 2009 on a 125, and then 2010 I did like my first sort of full year trying to do like quite a few championships on the 125, which went well, went really good. You know.
So was this still on Suzuki?
This was on Suzuki still, yeah. So it's a lot of new things for me because, like I said, up until that first year racing the small wheel, I'd never really done many national races, many big races. So it was all quite new to me. But you know, it seemed to progress pretty quickly. And then the start of 2011, we got help from John Smith. He actually bought a few bikes for me and said, you know, he'd help me out and do some sponsorship, which was cool. And
so who's this guy?
So he's just a guy. He does a van company, sells vans. We just got to know him through Leah Apex actually.
Okay, yeah.
So Apex used to help me out a bit as well, and he put me in contact with John.
Me and Leah aren't tight.
No,
I got banned from there.
Oh no.
Yeah, sorry. Good. But, yeah, we'll sort that out one day.
We'll have to sort that. But anyway, so he put us in contact with John, and John helped me out a lot. He bought me some bikes and stuff, which was a big help. So thanks to him at that time. It was really good. And then my dad sort of I was quite young at the time. I don't remember. My dad said, "Let's go and race the EMX 125 championship."
Just
it was like, yeah, let's
just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, and guess what the first round was?
Where?
Bulgaria.
Oh, great!
So he was like, "Let's just go for it." And I was like, how was I, like 16? I was
this
like,
is typical Gary Dunn shit,
is
though,
typical,
isn't it?
yeah,
Like this guy is a guy who sprays shoes silver and shit, and puts on the most amazing house parties, isn't he? Your dad.
He likes to host a good party. So
is mental.
He's a good host. Yeah.
Love him. Had a bit
funny.
of a fun time with him in Magaluf, didn't I, myself? So.
a few good memories there, yeah. So.
Brilliant guy.
Crazy.
Guy.
But that trip, so he sort of just entered me in. So we had like a few little personal sponsors helping me out, but it was all down to my dad really at that stage.
Yeah.
To get me to this race, which it was so out of the blue. Like I never really expected.
Was it a bit of a whirlwind?
It was kind of the first year that was when the EMX 125 championship started. Really, they had done it the year before, I think. But it wasn't alongside GP, so it was the first year.
It used to be with MX3.
Yeah, so it used to be separate, and the EMX 250 championship all used to be separate. It wasn't at the MX1 and MX2 championship. So, it was quite early stages of that. So it was cool to just be at the GP.
People were really excited about
racing.
It as well.
I didn't really know any GP. I never really was into it. I didn't follow anything really, to be honest, at a young age. So to turn up at these World Championship rounds and see it all for the first time,
Christ.
I was like, it was amazing.
I think anybody who turns up at a GP, like if any of you guys watching don't know what that level of motocross or never done it, just do it, because you turn up and you're like, oh my fucking god,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Even compared to AMA stuff.
Yeah,
like, you go to a
setup at a GP is amazing.
It's like a complete moving circus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of vehicles,
they turn up on the Tuesday to set up all week for the weekend's races.
Yeah,
take it all down, and then they obviously travel from one GP to another. And fly
which can be miles. So Bulgaria, then what happened?
So when we flew out to Bulgaria, actually, we like I said, because we only had a few personal sponsors, which helped me get the bike and parts and kit and stuff. My dad was like, well, it's quite a long drive to Bulgaria, so what we'll do...
You reckon, yeah.
We took the bike completely apart, put it in suitcases, and flew out to Bulgaria. So we had the bike in 5-6 different suitcases.
Another Gary Dunn moment.
That standard Gary Dunn moment. We hired this hire van, which we flew to Sofia, which is still once we flew there, it's still quite a long drive over to the track.
You at that age must have just been like, what?
And on the way to the track, we were the track's in the middle of nowhere. One of probably the best tracks I've ever ridden on. This track in Bulgaria is amazing. Pulled up on the side of the road, going up through these mountain roads, and Dad's like, might as well build a bike here. So literally on the side of the road, building the bike out of barely tool. We didn't even have any tools with us really. We just took a few sort of adjustables in the suitcase. Yeah, we're trying to keep the weight down just so we didn't have to pay extra to take the bike over on the flight. And it was such an experience. And I think on the way there,
did you hire a van or?
Yeah, it was just hired a hire car, but it was like a big family bus thing. It's funny. We couldn't build the whole bike because we couldn't get the bike in the car, so I had to leave the front wheel out, leave the forks out until we got to the track, and then we finished.
See, that's amazing. That's the sort of stuff that people don't know about.
Crazy,
you know what I mean?
It was so funny.
Wicked.
And then before we got to the track, we always had to buy fuel. Didn't have any fuel cans. Didn't have any oil. So we're trying to find oil in Bulgaria. It's just any good to use. It's not really going to be that good. So I think someone from the track helped us out with oils and stuff and fuel and that, which was just even to be there and trying to find stuff at that early stage.
People must have just been thinking, what?
It created. I remember we spoke to David Bulmer at Vermo. I think he was working there at the time. No, he still works there now. But, he was blown away by it.
That is the funniest.
It made a bit of a story on its own, just that. So
I'm
cool.
so glad you've just told me that, because
I think we even went to on the way to the track. We passed this old market. We didn't have a stand there, so we bought someone's stool to use it as a stand for the bike for the weekend. And then I don't know. Yeah.
So you pitted out of a Ford Galaxy. Essentially, with wooden stool.
Some ropey hire car that we got from Sofia Airport, which is the size of this workshop here, pretty much. Don't know how we made it there. No, it was funny.
Hilarious.
So that was cool, and then amazingly, I finished I think 8th in the first race, and then 3rd in the second race. So it went from never even near these races.
Turned up with a Suzuki on a wooden stool.
No, I was on KTM this year.
Oh, was it?
So this is we just gone to KTM. So obviously I used to race. Like I was saying, used to race Suzuki up until 2010.
I remember the Red Bull stuff.
Yeah, and used to do all that, and then we decided to buy a KTM with John. John bought me a KTM, like I say. So
that's crazy.
That was quite a transition to then suddenly turn up at Bulgaria and go. Yeah, I think it was 8th, 3rd, and 4th overall, and be lying fourth in
So
the
what
European
happened there?
Championship
Like,
was
how did
quite
that? Did anyone notice you at that point? And
That's I think people were quite shocked at the start because
where's that James Dunn? I always see that Ford Galaxy up there with a stall outside of it. It's just
It literally was. They're parked next to all these Arctics, and then like at the end of the pitch, just us in this van trying to build my bike out of suitcases. So it was crazy. But yeah, that was quite a turning point, and we were like, oh, now we've got to go do the rest of these races. Really, if I'm lying fourth in the championship, so
I just want to say to people as well, like everyone always says, this sport is all about the money and stuff like that. That is a prime example of get off your arse and go and fucking do it.
Yeah, because
it is, isn't it? Like, I mean,
like...
you were never skint. I mean, I don't think you could not do this sport if you didn't. If you were poor.
No, yeah,
but
it's not
you can do it. You can just like that. You can just go and do it.
There's
like you've just got to have the will.
You don't need a $100,000 camper and you don't to travel around the country, travel around Europe, or whatever. But
got to have the will to do it.
It's nice.
Yeah,
you don't need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we made it work at that early stage, and then from then on, I think I went sort of like had a couple of top. Well, most of the time I finished sixth in the championship that year after having quite a good year. First year at it, so that was quite cool. And then from there, I spoke to Roger McGee. He said it would help me out a little bit with doing the European Championship again in 2012.
Which was HM Plant.
Yeah, which was HM Plant at that stage. So that was quite early on. He said he'd give me a bit of support with stuff and take my bikes to all the races for me. So I had to lock, so didn't have to fly around with a suitcase. So that was good.
Just got on a plane.
Yeah, so we got on a plane. He took my bikes there, which was obviously a massive help. Gave me time to go home and ride in the week and do that and take it a bit more seriously. And
so that's just gone like 0 to 100, hasn't it?
It did. It really did. It went from just having a bit of support with Paul Butler on a Suzuki to then thinking, well, we'll buy my own bike and go and do this European race. To then having support from one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, that's just happened so fast.
Yeah, it really did move really fast, and then it almost kept moving even faster because then I raced in 2012. Obviously, my main rival was Tim Geiser that year, so it was a difficult year. I think he did win every race apart from 2 that I beat him, which
it's not ideal, is it, going into a championship with Tim Geiser?
Yeah, especially now what we know
like
now.
it could have, it could have been better. It could have been like Monticelli or something, couldn't it? But you ended up with Tim Geiser, who's like 3-time world champion.
In a way, I agree. Like it made it harder, but then looking at it back at it now, he's now one of the best riders in the world, well established. So it's been quite cool that at that time,
you did it.
Battled with him quite a few times and beat. It was the only person to beat him that year. So that was quite something that will keep with me forever. And
you'll be able to say that, won't you? I think and that man has just got the whole country behind him, hasn't he? Like he's got so much help from, and I think they're just more like in tune with that from where he's from. Like he seems to have a massive fan base.
Yeah,
he's
done so well though. He's kept on progressing. And, he's done an amazing job. So
you compare it, like he's on Tony's level now, and beyond.
Yeah, he's almost gone beyond.
It's like a cat. He crashes and stuff.
I know, and then he just jumps back up. No,
wild.
It's awesome to see him do so well though. It's great.
So race Tim Geiser 2012. He beat you.
Yeah, so 2012
the championship.
I finished 4th that year in the championship.
Yeah. Which is some going, really.
Which is still, I was still pretty happy. I think I missed the last round because the last round this is where I had one of my first bad head injuries. So I knocked myself out in Italy at the last round of the European Championship in 2012.
So this is now going into why you've had so much time off the bike, isn't it?
This is sort of the start of it, yes. So the start of like my worst injury. So that was a real bad head injury which I suffered there, which was probably one of the worst I've had. I've had obviously a lot now.
Was that a bad concussion then? Or?
Yeah, just knocked myself out when I still barely remember like anything that happened from that weekend or that whole week. I don't know how. Like I don't remember driving home from there or anything like that.
That's scary, isn't it?
Quite a big chunk of my life there that it's gone missing. So it's a scary thing, and especially after going through obviously to what's happened nowadays with all the amount of head injuries I have had. It's like I didn't really manage it that well back then. I was like, oh, I'll be fine next week.
Well, you don't think, do you? You don't. You don't know how. I think even then, as opposed to now, I don't even think like hospitals and our medical system even knew how to even 100%. Because I think what's came out is a lot of the American footballers and stuff with really bad head injuries.
Yeah.
And actual research has gone into it.
People are much more aware of it.
And that's only 6-7 years ago. Yeah. There was really not a lot of research, I don't think, in the mainstream medical.
Yeah, for general people.
Yeah,
even if you have a car crash, people realise now you can get a concussion just from not even banging your head.
And it can last years.
Yeah, so it's much more. Yeah, people are aware of it now, which is good though. It needs to be made more aware of because
100%.
it definitely gets overlooked most of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so from 2012, that was a shame. You know, I was after such a good year, you know, winning races, getting on the podium a few times, finishing fourth in the championship. It was a shame to end it with that injury, but still, like, it was still a really good year for me. And Roger was really happy, and you know, his support was massive that year. And then he said, the following year, he gave me a MX2 GP ride to go do that. So again, another massive step. You know, I missed out on the EMX.
This has just gone like whoa, hasn't it?
It was
like,
crazy,
like,
yeah. And I was still only just turned 18 when I raced my first MX2 GP in Qatar.
Was that with full support from KTM?
That was full support with Roger, yeah. So me and Elliot Banks.
So you had a good bike.
The bikes that year were okay, and they were.
So this is just like the engine package.
Obviously, they were very, very good bikes, but compared
to GP level,
they need to be the best of the best, which is obviously hard to get. And you know, the support from KTM and Roger and everything was amazing.
Well,
but, I think we was always trying to catch up a little bit on certain things.
You never get what the factory guys are getting.
No,
you get like a. It's like a support package in it from KTM, and the engines are all support engine. Like it's still cool, but they're not the real deal, are they?
No, that's the thing. But it was such great support, and to be just turning 18, going travelling, in Thailand and Qatar, and racing all around the world at that age was, it was definitely a childhood
that
dream.
Qatar
really.
was just mental.
It was amazing there. It was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, some great memories from doing that. But it's it was a bit of an eye opener. Obviously, going from racing the 125 Championship to MX2 World Championship is a massive step. And sort of looking back at it now, I wish that, although I couldn't have not taken the opportunity to race MX2, because you can't turn that down really. If you get the opportunity, you've got to go for
any
it.
kid would do it, wouldn't he?
I think looking back, it would have been nice to have gone through the steps of racing EMX 250 first, doing a year of that, and then going to MX2.
Because the issue is the speed level is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, and like the speed level in say the 125 European Championship, obviously the guys at the front are fast, but it sort of slowly drops off. So you can find your pace, you've got a bit more there to sort of settle into the races and then get to where you need to get to. But the MX2 is like everyone is 110%, like flat out.
If you're 25th, they're
going only a few seconds slower. It's
as
crazy,
fast as the bike can go.
Yeah,
a lot of them. It's mental.
It was a bit of a shock, a bit of a big jump, but I was up for the challenge at the time, and it was good experience.
I don't think people realise the actual level, do they, of GPs? Like when if you hadn't been to one, I still remember the first time I went to a GP. It was actually in Nations, and it was 08 at Mathley Basin, and it was the one where Stefan Evers beat James Stewart straight. He went around the outside of him and passed him, and everyone had a half orgasm. But I could not believe it.
Yeah.
From like being at like club meetings. I've been to a few of the nationals and stuff.
Like such a good atmosphere.
And
there
I was like, I turned up there and I'm like, oh my god, I am so shit. like these guys are like, what? Are they on the same bikes? Like,
it is an eye-opener, really.
Mental. The speed level, and that's just got more and more and more. I mean, I was watching one of Tony Caroli's helmet cams from the other day, and I was like, no way. That is just sketchy as hell.
And to be doing that pace for, a 30-minute moto every lap is
you've got to be so tuned in.
You're on the limit for half an hour there, going as fast as the bike will go, which is,
like 170 crazy. Heart rate, probably.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I think obviously those guys, they do it all the time. They can bring it down a little bit. But most, if you put anyone on a bike and jump on and say do a lap as fast as you can, their heart rate will be, it'll be high. So it's hard to, that's why you got to be super fit.
People don't realise, do they? Like, it's like, we do 30-minute races at like 150 to 180.
Yeah,
like on heart rate. And then if you said, right, go and run on that treadmill and be at 180 heart rate, you'd just be like, you couldn't do it.
It's just the adrenaline that keeps you going, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It's a crazy sport.
Ridiculous.
Definitely gets you going, doesn't it?
So at that point when you're doing MX2 GP, is that when was it a confidence thing? You were like, shit.
It was.
What am I doing?
It was a bit of an up and down. Yeah, it was like just trying to learn all these new tracks, learn the pace, learn how to it's just
the qualifying system and all that sort of stuff.
It was so much to do, but
a lot of riding as well on a weekend.
A lot of riding. Yeah, there's a lot more riding than what I was used to on like for the weekend racing schedule. But no, it was still a good year, and I still scored a few championship points, and like that was sort of the goal, was just to get some points that year.
No, I remember. Yeah.
And it was getting better and better throughout the year, and I think. We did I had a couple of rounds where I was like 16th, 17th, which to me, being a kid just learning my way, that was like ideal. It was perfect, progression that I was doing.
Yeah,
and
in the top 20, really.
Yeah, so
it's just learning that. It's like getting your muscle memory to learn that pace, isn't it? I imagine it's like any sport.
It's just adapting to it. I was still so young, just learning. So any progression over a weekend, even if it was just, even maybe if I was finishing, I don't know, 25th, but we learn a lot about the bike, or we change things which were better. We could then take that to the next round, and it would then
build
help
on
help my position. So it was just all a massive learning curve, which for Roger to give me that opportunity at the time was amazing, really, to do all that. So yeah, crazy learning.
Yeah, I can't believe how fast that process was. Like, I never knew that, really.
It was real quick.
Every time we've sort of hung out before, I've never really talked about this. We've just been friends, haven't we?
It's funny.
I don't ever want to pick someone's brain about sort of that stuff, because I'm just like, this probably doesn't want to talk about bikes because that's what he does for a living.
No,
so try and avoid it, because spent too much time around Tommy Searle, who he's just anti-motocross. He's not doing
Mr.
it
Anti-motocross.
unless someone's paying him to do it.
I see now he's a professional mountain biker, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a professional mountain biker. Comes out with me. Talk a few tricks. I'm not very good. My wheels stay on the ground on a mountain bike.
That's probably
I had a few mad little moments, and it went a bit wrong, and I landed on. I did a front flip, James, off a jump.
Just claim
and
it.
Since that day,
claim it as a front flip.
Yeah, since that day, my friends will vouch for me because it was seen, it was witnessed. Since that day, I just don't do anything like that. Do you know the BMX style jumps? Fuck that shit.
Yeah, that's sketchy.
Anyway. So we're in 2014 now.
So this is again at 2000. So like I said, at the end of 2012, had that bad crash, bad head injury, which managed to recover the wins. Had a good progressive year through 2013 doing the GPs, but then at the end of 2013, also I crashed at Hawkstone Park and had another terrible head injury. I tried to.
I mean, that would have just been.
Do you know if you go out the back into the woods, there was like a double and then like a tabletop. It's still there now.
Yeah.
The back section. I tried to triple over all of that.
Berlin's did that, didn't it?
Yes, a couple of people have done it, and I went for it. Went for it, didn't quite make it, and broke both my heels, broke my ankle, and had another terrible head injury.
Which
was not
really
good
situation to be in.
So that was again another year where I've had a bad head injury, which was sort of like the start of my problems that I get obviously now, or well, not now, but have had.
Yeah.
So it's all these things have like slowly added up over the years, which then it's just been
and then not rehabbing.
Yeah,
not knowing.
At the time, like we say, not knowing what to do really, and just because I had broken heels, I was like, oh well, once they're healed, it'll be fine. I'll be back.
All right, yeah.
I'll be back to go racing again, which is what I did. I had the end of the off season, just let myself recover, and then got back on the bike in 2014. Which Roger gave me the opportunity to race again with him. I wasn't going to race the World Championship because it was sort of such a big deal to go and race it again. We decided to just do the focus on the British Championship and do that.
Yeah, and he's keen for that anyway. Well,
he had. As well. I think he had Mal or maybe Sean racing as well. So he's got his World Championship riders there. Yeah. And then for me, just after bad injury again, to focus on the British Championship was ideal. That was fine. I was happy to do that.
Yeah.
But then I think I was flying after the second round in the British Championship. I was in about 6th in the championship, and I had my knee injury that year. So that's when it all went one thing after the other. Yeah. So I had that injury, which was probably one of the scariest things because I fully dislocated my knee from like upper and lower leg. Fully dislocated it. So I didn't just dislocate the kneecap.
So just
what a normal
out.
Fully out. My leg was like over here somewhere. This is like fully out.
God.
It was bad.
No.
Ruptured all my arteries and also ruptured all my ligaments and ruptured my artery. So it's the main blood supply.
Jesus Christ.
So it was quite a scary touch and go moment with
So you nearly lost your leg.
Pretty much was if they'd have I actually went to hospital and they scanned it and everything. They said, "Oh, you've just done your ligaments. You have to go home and see a specialist, or they can do it there." But I wanted to go home and see a specialist. I was at home for like a day or two, and I rang Darren Roberts up at Harrison Ross in Manchester.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Look," so I knew he deals.
So they have a full Red Bull.
They've got full. They deal with all Red Bull athletes. They've got a full setup. The best of the best there. The guys there are just amazing. It was unbelievable being there. But yeah, so I rang him and I was like, "Look, my knee doesn't feel great. They said I've done some ligament damage. Like, can I come and see you?"
Yeah.
I drove up there the next day. So it'd been like 3 days now.
Did you go over to the Wrightington Hospital then in Manchester?
I went to the Alexander. So there's a few different ones. I've been to a few different in Manchester, but yeah. So I went and saw him, and I met him at the Alexander Hospital with
Dr. Rob Gilbert.
A specialist. No, it was
not Rob.
I can't remember who it was now. One of the specialists that he put me in touch with,
Yeah.
and it was a bit of a surreal experience because we went into this room and he was like, he looked at my knee, looked at the scans, we did another scan, looked at those, And he was like, yeah, so it's all fine. We'll have you booked in for an operation tomorrow. And I was like, what? Why do I need an operation tomorrow? And he's like, they didn't really make a big deal of it, and like they were so professional, so calm. And after I had the operation, they were like, you literally could have lost your leg that day. That's like, because there was no blood supply to my foot. Because it was just.
Did your foot not feel weird?
It felt terrible. Like it was tingly, horrible. And obviously, I think they knew straight away. That's why they were quite calm about it, because it'd be like a panic mode situation when you like try and get it sorted. So they booked me in as soon as possible. Had like a 6-7 hour operation on it.
With the Harrison Ross guys, got me straight in.
They're amazing, aren't they?
Awesome.
The guys there are so good. You know, I 100%. If I hadn't rang Darren that day, my leg I either wouldn't have a leg or it wouldn't be anything like it is today. So, can't.
That must have been quite mentally scarring.
Yeah, it was difficult. You know, obviously for a good year or so there, I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair for a long time. Couldn't walk, and it took me over a year to get back to being able to go running or so. So I did just general
which you enjoy quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, so it was just like day-to-day stuff in life. I struggled with for a long time with that. So that was quite a major injury to get over. But quite a few, so many operations on it, and just a lot of physio, a lot of rehab up in Manchester with Darren. And that. So it was quite a long process.
If anybody has a knee injury or anything, and they're into motocross, and you're
any injury,
anything, and any sport, if I'm honest. You get that place is just a different level, and if you've got like private medical insurance or anything like that, it's all covered on it. And if anyone wants their contact details, you can slide into the DMs, and we can, if anyone's suffering with an injury at the minute, we can point you in the right direction.
Definitely, yeah, I'm sure they'll be happy to help. And if I could give back to them anything, that'd be
for sure.
I'm sure they'd appreciate that. So, yeah, but that was obviously another year out from racing, my first proper full year away from racing, which was. Trying to just do a lot of physio, get back to a high level of racing, which I did. Sort of towards the end of 2015, I managed to get back and race a few British Championship races, which went okay. It's just sort of a return. Trying to get back.
There's no major expectations.
No expectations. And what was amazing, Roger decided to help me again. So he was still supporting me, still giving me some bikes to go riding, a bit of kit. Just real basic level support, which made the difference. Helped me get back to racing. So again, Roger was so helpful over the years, so much support from him, and so it was nice just to be back at the track, be back racing. My knee was holding up okay. I still had to manage it a lot. Still had to go and see Darren at Harrison Ross every other week and stuff.
Time, don't they?
Yeah, it did take a while, but it was the fact that I could actually race again was quite something. So that was good. And then we went from going into 2016. This is where sort of REVO was started to associate ourselves with Roger and HM Plant.
So they sort of came together, didn't they?
So they were like a private sponsor.
Was Josh Spinks your teammate then at that point?
Because he was. He was.
But on like a side as well.
It was like a side deal, yeah.
It was like you and him were like.
It was like sort of personal sponsors.
Yeah, because Mark had promised Josh a ride.
Yeah.
And I know they'd merged as a team.
Yeah, so he helped him out.
And then it'd been like, oh, well, we'll just help him out anyway.
Yeah.
And I think Roger was cool with it.
I think that's what's so amazing about Mark. If he says he'll help you here,
he'll
do it. Yeah, he'll do it. So he's
100%.
definitely a man to his word, which is really really nice one. That's why I'm really excited to be working with him.
And I think Roger's a bit the same as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But that's why they've both run teams that have stayed around.
They have both really now. After looking back on the last few years, they both ran two of the most established motocross teams in the country.
Yeah,
so
definitely, without a doubt.
They've done very well. But so going into 2016, that was the sort of first proper year that they did Hitachi REVO Husqvarna, and then I'm planning to race the British Championship and then some selected World Championship rounds again. Just because trying to travel to Thailand and that is such an expense for the team. It's crazy. And
if you were going to do it off your own back, it's not. It's not
even worth it really. It's just got such an expense. It's crazy. But I started off. So going to start of 2016, I started off racing. We raced at Ling the first round, and I actually finished third on the podium behind Max and
I think
Conrad.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I was over the moon with that after having such a long time off. Over a year and a half before. To then come out at the first round and be on the podium was really good. Really really happy.
Probably made you feel good.
Yeah, it was nice. It was such an achievement just to get back to that level and where where I felt I should be. So that was quite a major achievement. And then from there, I went to Canada Heights for the second round and had like a third and a fourth or something. So again 2 solid rounds, and I came away leading the championship on that weekend. So I was tied with Stephen Clark on leading the championship. So that was quite quite something at the time. You know, I was pretty happy.
That
with
would have
that.
been insane, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah,
you know, that
lead
would
the
have
British
been-
Championship. You know, it's hard to do that. So
Yeah, very
I was
hard.
pretty happy with that. And then we decided to go the following weekend. We went to, I think it was Germany, or a couple of weeks after that. I was going to do an MX2 GP in Germany. Went there, crashed in practice, banged my head, had a bit of a concussion. But I was like, well, I'm going to, at the time, same sort of thing. I'm going to go right. I'm going to go race. Like, I can't. I'm here. I don't want to not
we
race.
paid all this money.
Yeah, it's like you made it all the way there. You're not going to not go and ride. So, it probably in hindsight maybe wasn't the right thing to do. But
No.
it's difficult, you know, when you're there and you want to
You've got
race,
pressure as well, and people.
And I was like, I felt like I needed to prove myself.
The problem with a head injury is people can't see it, and you can't.
Yeah. If
You
say,
can
"Oh, I
look
don't
like
feel
a
right."
dick if you turn around and go, "Oh, I'm a bit poorly."
Yeah,
You know, but
it's not what people want to hear, really, is it?
no,
But
it's like, oh right, are you? Well, I'm a bit skint because I've just spent 10 grand getting you on this line. Now get out there and ride.
That's what it is.
You know, it's-
But it was, yeah, and for somehow I managed to. I think I finished like 18th or something, so it wasn't a bad
result, yeah,
weekend.
good
So it was
result.
okay. It wasn't too bad. And then we went from Germany straight to Italy and raced a GP there, which I crashed again and banged my head. So especially when you have a concussion or a head injury, if you say you have a knockout or a concussion and then you leave it a year and then have another one, it's nowhere near as bad as if you have one like 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
It like multiplies like 10 times worse. So
Right,
it makes it
okay.
even worse. Banging your head. It's obviously never good to bang your head at all. But if you leave the gap between the recovery a lot longer, then it helps it a lot to sort of be able to recover and get back to a
fix
normal
itself,
normal stage. So yeah, that wasn't ideal doing that. I think I didn't race in Italy. I think I crashed in the qualifying race, and then I didn't actually race in the two
you
main
feel
races because
not
I obviously
feel
wasn't
great?
right. We knew it wasn't
Okay.
quite right.
That's when you first started thinking, "Oh, gang on."
Yeah, this is when it also like because obviously after my first 2 head injuries, I went and saw a doctor in Manchester with Darren again. So
Yeah.
I had already started this sort of database of like
Journey.
logging my head injuries from this stage back in 2012.
Would they
so,
take like brain,
So I've had
like
scans,
pathway scans? And
yeah, I had
stuff like
scans
that?
done at the time. So
Functionality scans where
Yeah,
they're
like,
seeing the
you can see what's
the weight.
going on, yeah, everything like that. So it's like especially now after multiple head injuries, it's good to have this log of like what's happened in the past, and I've got one doctor I can go see, and he'll he knows when something's not right or if what needs to be done. So
Yeah.
so that was obviously to have a couple of head injuries again. Like this is going like 3-4 years in a row now. To have head injuries has not been good. So fast forward again, that recovery. I then actually had some time off the bike. I did like 3 months off, which was definitely needed, obviously, because then when I came back to racing, the only reason I returned that year was I didn't want to miss the British GP.
Right,
So
okay.
that's like, I
But that was a massive thing,
exactly.
wasn't it?
Like,
Like,
you
it was a
can't miss
massive
it. It was
thing,
like
and
I was probably being advised not to
like
race.
you and Clarkey and everyone just because everyone just sort of comes out of the woodwork and they're like, oh, I can't, you're excited.
It's honestly, actually, the year I
I
raced,
used to destroy my dad's motorhome.
you used to get too excited.
Get off it. Like, we just went mental. I remember bringing a sofa to a field under
It's
like...
just it's the British GP for a British rider or a British fan. It's just the ultimate motocross experience. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
awesome.
It's just crazy. So especially after when I raced there back in 2012 for the British on the 125 with guys, me and him were having a really good battle, and that was just like. There's nothing that would compare to that feeling. That feeling of having.
And it's
having
the
all this
atmosphere
fun,
of it all, isn't it?
It's
like,
just
caravans on fire.
Literally,
and
it's just
things.
crazy. It's crazy. There's so much stuff going on.
People, always remember in Teufelstal, this is a Nations in Germany. The only time I've ever seen it, it was a pickup truck towing a caravan that was on fire, and loads of Lithuanians in the back of it with a Subaru engine in a trolley revving it.
They love it.
And it was the most. Like, I'm like looking at it and thinking, this is like fucking Mad Max. There's no rules. There's no like, what's going on? This is just ridiculous.
They don't get away
That's
with
what it's
anything,
like
do they?
at these places. It's like basically putting a whole load of people in a field with no law, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
just do-
no
you just do
rule
what
at
you
all.
want, don't
You
you?
just do what you want, and it's mad. And that's why we all love it, don't we?
Yeah, it is crazy.
We're at the British GP.
But yeah, so I decided to race British GP. Having the opportunity to race MX2 World Championship there, and I didn't want to turn that down or just say I don't feel like racing yet. I wanted to give it a go, which turned out to be one of my best GP results. I finished 14th, I think, in one of the races, which was one of my best GP results to date. So it definitely
that's great.
Definitely went well. It was a good weekend, but then I think after that I tried to then get back to racing the British Championship the following weekend, and I just couldn't do it. It was just like must do with a head injury or just not riding for so long. But I just literally fell apart, and I was just struggling with like focusing. Loads of stuff wasn't.
I
right,
think
so
I remember that, and everyone was like,
I was literally riding around at the back, like could barely ride.
What the fuck's wrong with James?
So
it was shocking.
Yeah. And especially going from
because everyone watching
14th,
was like, what's he doing? Is he like just giving up?
That's what it seems like. That's what people have said before. So it's like I'm not even trying to ride round, but it's like I can't. It's like my brain isn't coping with the speed of the riding. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like I can't keep
the
up
flow
with it.
state.
So it's obviously showed that from the previous head injuries, the few months before, that it was after giving it a little bit of recovery, it was able to perform for like that one weekend, but then trying to push it again the next weekend obviously was too soon. So I decided to literally went back and saw
probably a bit more adrenaline as well, and you probably overloaded yourself maybe.
Definitely. Obviously, something wasn't right there, so I went back and saw the guy that I'd seen about the head injuries before, and he said, "Look, you just got to give it more time, more rest." So that's what I did. So that was the end of 2016, which basically went through till about.
So not really. It's only 2012 where you actually done a full solid season.
That's I haven't actually finished. I didn't finish a championship for like 3 years there, 3 or 4 years there. So that's been hands up. That's been my weak point in my racing career. My race results. They've been.
But it's crazy because you're smooth as hell.
That's what's crazy.
Shit just happens, and you're like, what? How did you do that?
What's weird. Like,
I remember watching the crash at Hawkeston when you had that massive crash.
Yeah.
It was like it shouldn't have happened.
No, and I either never crash or I have like these crashes I've just explained. They're the only crash. Or like I don't ever just tip over or like it's never have a small crash. It's either like all or nothing on those. But yeah,
I think you learn as you get older, though, don't you?
Yeah.
Not sometimes take.
That's probably where like having all these crashes in the past, like now or at times when I've raced sort of last year or whenever, I've probably been a little bit too hesitant. Which as a racer you can't be. You can't be 100%. So that's probably hindered me a little bit at times. But as part of dealing with these injuries and trying to move forward.
Going forward now to this new deal and all that sort of stuff. I mean, especially having Walsh as your teammate. And stuff
I'm excited to work with Dylan.
I think you need to. It will obviously drag you forward loads. Like you know when you're training with people that are faster than you and all this sort of stuff. Because he will be at the minute. There's no. I'm not going to bullshit.
Dylan's, he's leading GPs, isn't
on
he?
it.
So, yeah, he's been
on
going
it.
really
There's
well.
no better guy to be riding with because that's going to like start firing you back up and getting.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm excited to go riding with him. I'm sure. Like you say, he's one of the fastest guys. He's going to be a favourite to win that championship. Really. He's been put himself in a good position.
He's going to be good. The whole I think the team's going to look great as well.
Yeah.
So like then at that point then when all this had gone on, is this when you just thought I need to just get away from this?
Yeah, that's what I got advised. The guy said you need to give it at least like 6 months away from doing anything that's going to risk banging your head to give it a chance to recover properly, which is what I did. And even at that stage, like I kind of thought, maybe I'm going to have to step back from racing, not.
Do something else.
Do something different maybe, and but at that time I was still just letting myself recover and try not to worry about it because sometimes you just like build. Even like generally
anxiety.
You build up, you worry about things too much, and there's no need to at that stage. So I sort of went through the motions of, trying to live a little bit of a different lifestyle, not being so hard on myself with training and like dieting and everything. I tried to be more relaxed.
No, what you did, you lived a youth.
A normal, like
a normal you don't
lifestyle,
have that.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing GPs and when you were going through all that. You didn't have that, did you? Really? Like,
not really.
You have to like train, and if you go out, there's a consequence of that, and so it was probably nice to go. Do you know what? I'm letting my hair down. I'm going to go out and have a few drinks with my mates. I'm going to chill out a little bit.
It gave me the opportunity to meet new people and like live a different live a normal lifestyle a little bit, sort of thing. So it was that was quite nice at that stage, which
I think you needed it.
To be fair, it didn't last overly long. It probably lasted like 6-7 months because then. This is where I started racing the two-stroke for Bob.
Yeah.
So that all came about pretty random. I remember, it was probably like midway through 2017. Bob rang me up and he was like, look, obviously after all my 125 stuff that I did on the two-stroke.
Was you on that team with Lewis as well? Was you both together or was he fading out?
It was as Lewis sort of stopped with Bob. Obviously, I think Bob still supported him, but Lewis stopped racing professionally.
Yeah.
That's where that's why he rang me and said, look, I've got a bike for you to ride. You're the only person I wanted to ride it, sort of thing. And he was he just wanted to see me on a bike on that side. He's such a great guy.
Bob Buchanan is amazing. If anyone doesn't know who Bob Buchanan is, he's like Mr. Oakley of the UK. He is motocross. Like he does this weird like hand tickly thing when you shake his hand and it's weird, but I love it. It's just, and he's amazing. He's the goggle man at the GPs. Everyone goes to get the goggles prepped by Bob. He's Mr. Oakley. He's motocross. and he just turned to you, didn't he, and just wanted you on
Yeah,
his bike.
I think he saw that, you know. Well, from what he said, he just wanted to see me on a bike, and he loved the way I ride and stuff like that. So, to him, for me to ride his bike was, you know, a pleasure, and obviously, like, you know, to get back to racing and especially go back to racing the European 300 Championship straight away was quite a. Again, it sort of all happened quite fast, but I was like, well, you know, Bob's giving me this opportunity. I want to go for it. It's hard to, like you say, to turn down these opportunities when you've.
Oh yeah, you've got to.
You can't not say. You
no,
can't say, oh, no, I don't want to go and race.
Yeah, no,
like,
sorry, mate. I'm not bothered about being a pro.
No,
it's what I've worked for my whole life.
It's such a catch-22. Even been told to like not race for a head injury problem. Although I've given it time, I feel like, well, you know, I've got to give it a go.
You're feeling a bit better, sort of
it
thing.
gets back to that stage. You sort of try again. So.
And this was still like, I remember Bob saying this when you was with him. At this point, it was like they didn't know what James Dunn was going to turn up.
No, that's the thing. There
was that inconsistency,
bit
wasn't
inconsistent,
from
yes.
the head. You think from the head injury?
I think it definitely didn't help. Whether it's all down to that, I don't know. But you know, as a kid, I never really had. You know, I didn't go up and down. But like, as I got older, I don't know whether the head injuries. I think they definitely had some part to play on it. But
with emotion like depression or like anxiety.
Yeah,
it
takes you through like different stages in life, which that's like a whole other thing. Which head injuries for me, I went through a little bit of depressed stage with stuff and trying to overcome that and deal with that aspect of life and then deal with like racing. It's like trying to get all these things to come together in life and just be able to like balance them all.
I think you start like when you get to that age as well, like everybody at that age is a bit confused about what they want. It's not just. I think it probably adds a little bit more to it when you've got a professional career that is there. Yeah. You know, and then you've got this pulling you here, and then you've got people here, like you know,
it's a lot to do with it. I think especially racing motocross or doing any professional sport at a young age, it's a lot. It makes you grow up quite quick.
Although
you feel like you've grown up quick and you're at this level of like people look up to you or like people like to follow you.
You've got constant pressure.
It's like a lot to deal with. And then when you take yourself out of that, I found this especially this year more because I'd obviously been through a lot of injuries, a lot of racing, a lot of different stuff going on. But I've obviously now this year had a lot of time off from racing. I know there's not been many races, but I've been like fully gone away from, you know,
even your social media.
Everything. I had to take myself right away from it because it just got too much. But that's again, we're skipping a bit here. But going from like last year, 2019, I finished off racing with a head injury, which I then really had to take time away. Which has now been, you know, it'll be nearly 2 years by the time I start racing again.
Which is probably right.
Which is about right. But
probably the right amount of time that you needed.
But after having all these things, so like after having, you know, back in 2016, going 17, having the time off, and then Bob coming to me and saying, "Look, let's get you back on a bike," which was about the right time. And at that stage, you know, it's probably my third or fourth major concussion. I've had like other ones along the way. Yeah. But it was like just always these little steps bringing me back to racing, which is like I went through 2017, had such a fun year with Bob, and having, you know, Aid Phelpstead as my mechanic, which. We just had the best years.
Wicked guy. Like that crew is like the dream team.
We had such a good setup. You know, we had some great support from KTM and some personal sponsors helping Bob out, which made it all possible. And to have Aid on board, and you know, it was such a good year. You know, there was a
lot of two-stroke hype then, wasn't there, as well?
A lot of two-stroke hype.
I think it started dying off a bit now, and I think that's why KTM sort of maybe pulled the plug a bit.
I don't know. Maybe, but there was so much hype on the two-stroke stuff then. And,
it was massive.
It was just such a fun year.
People were so excited to see an EMX 250 race back at GPs, weren't they?
I know.
Like, so excited.
It was crazy. And like they would let them be 300s as well, which was a bit crazy.
Yeah, cool.
But we never raced. We always just raced the 250 two-stroke. So you could tell who was on.
They revved a bit higher though, didn't they? Like
they revved it better. 300s are a little bit sort of.
I had a 300 and it was weird to ride.
Yeah,
and it did like this when you start getting high in the RPMs. It started getting a bit odd. Yeah. You know, like you
have to ride them differently. Yeah.
You have to almost ride them through the gears, don't you? A little bit.
But. Yeah, no. So that was amazing of Bob to give me that, you know, that chance to get back to racing, which it did help me a lot. You know, he got me back on a bike, and I think I had maybe a few podiums that year.
You could have been if Head was right, you would have been European champion. You know, even in that year with Bob.
Oh yeah,
because there was some displays of like woo, like
even that first year with Bob, like I only just jumped on the bike the week before, and he was like, "Well, there's a race in Germany," so like I jumped on the bike, did one down.
Same sort of shit again.
That's the problem. It's always been like I've never been quite prepared, or I've always come from an injury.
Let's do 3 months of testing. And then we'll go to a race.
I've never really had that proper.
Hopefully,
proper
that's
setup.
what you can get with.
Yeah, I think that's what we've got now. I've got a good setup going from started training now already for next year. So if we can get some good training under my belt, and then get the bike set up well into next year, I think we'll definitely be somewhere where I want to be.
I can't wait. Yeah, I really can't wait. I mean, we could go on for hours, couldn't we?
Yeah.
About this sort of stuff, but if we can summarise it, youth really nothing until small wheels.
Yeah.
And then went to a GP in a car with suitcases, with the bike in suitcases. We've then ended up winning European Championship 125 races from that.
Yeah.
To then podium in British Championship races on MX2, scoring GP points.
Yeah.
Like you have.
It was like a good. When you said that, it's a good progression of like my results got to the top
James,
there.
Like that's a career in itself. Yeah, you haven't earned money off it. Like and you see people.
That's
like
the thing. It's
Tommy's done great out of it.
There's only a handful of riders that actually earn money for it, really.
And they
Which
probably
is crazy,
have
isn't it?
the correct management and all that sort of stuff at a young age. But I think you've achieved a lot, mate. And if you can
100%.
go on to, be competitive in the British Championship, I mean that's awesome.
Oh, that's the thing for me. And also, like I say, having this last.
And if you can earn a living out of it eventually. It'd be
great,
great,
that's a thing. Or just even if it can earn money from being a hobby or sort of thing. But at the end of the day, I think after coming away from the sport. Pretty much since last year where I had another head injury, and then thinking like this is going to have to be it really, and then dealing with that emotion of being like, this is all I've grown up to do is race motocross, and if I didn't win or didn't race, it was like the be all end all.
Yeah.
So then to have to go through that stage of the last sort of year or so of not racing, it's been tough. Like it's been difficult. There's been a lot of other stuff going on as well, which has been hard. So.
Yeah,
to go through that and then come like now on the flip side of it to actually have a ride again for next year, it's made me have a completely different mindset of racing. Before it was like I didn't when I stopped. Yeah, it's just changed everything. So I'm just so grateful that I've got another opportunity to go racing for next year. Really,
and
that's what it is.
Grab it with both hands, mate.
Exactly, and even
the right people around.
Even on the bad days, they're going to be good days because I'm still going to be there racing or be at a track or be doing something that I love. So
Jake sat over there. James has had a chat with the REVO team, and there is a spot on his jersey and a spot on the bike as well.
Is that?
Potentially to give away life.
Yeah, we'll give you some support.
I think we
not
can.
On this bike.
Not on this bike. But that would be great if we as a company could be out there, on a bike at British Championship level, and we'd be, we'd love to be a part of your program.
Yeah, you've been super supportive, so we'd like to give back and
do something together.
No, it'd be cool.
Comments as well.
Is there? Right, okay, should we?
What questions?
Donny put in 4 seconds a lap on Geyser.
4 seconds?
What, the British GP?
Well, I don't know what he's referring to.
Is that? Yeah, it must have been,
Could have been, I remember. So it would either be the British GP, which is one round I beat him. I didn't beat him overall, but I beat him in one race.
Yeah.
And then at the European GP in Bastogne in Belgium, I beat him there as well. So that was a crazy weekend. I think I finished Jordan Booker with like this. I finished like 30th in the first race, like struggling to race, and then the second race I went out and won it, and I was like, I don't even know how I've done that.
That's just like, come on.
I know, it's so weird.
That's where Bob goes. Bob, who said the team was like, we have no idea what James Dunn's going to line up. If they're on the line, it's like, we're either going to be in 30th or we'll win it.
But we'll straighten it out for next year.
Well, you hope so. I'm sure Mark hopes so. What else have we got?
Suzuki GB days was good to be a teammate to you.
So who's that?
Luke Dean.
Yeah.
Luke,
I would say we had some good times with Luke. Me and Luke used to race. Obviously, I think he did a couple of European 125s as well.
Yeah, Luke Dean was handy.
We had
back in the day.
We had some funny times travelling around.
Not saying you're not handy now. You're still a good rider. Luke does AMC Championship. Anything else?
2 seconds.
Jake's now texting.
Such a fun rider to watch. Craig Chamberlain. So we had Craig on last week.
And you were.
Yeah, cool.
You were like. I think James has got like a unique style really, because it's not like you're on the ragged edge, but I think because of like your lankiness. Yeah. It's almost like in a nice way. It's almost like Arminus Jassicona's sort of shit that goes on, like weird stuff with your legs and stuff that looks mint.
It's something that I like. Obviously, it doesn't really make you go fast necessarily, but it's something that I like to do. I like to look good, feel good, move
sort of around, and so I think that's all part of the vibe, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what's cool with Seven getting involved in this team. You guys are going to just look.
We're going to have such a good setup.
Like you will, and Mark makes sure
Yeah, Mark and Sam.
The Seven kits are nice. That's obviously the Husqvarna.
So good, yes. The same sort of deal.
Yeah, so they got a real good deal from Seven. Like
I think that's direct from Roger Larson as well.
Yeah,
isn't it?
direct.
Like, that's brilliant.
So they're a title
Full deal.
sponsor for the team. So
well,
yeah.
that's it's been great, mate.
Yeah,
it's been awesome catching up with you.
Thanks,
It's been a pleasure showing everybody the real you and a little bit of the journey, a bit of the story. I'm sure people love.
We'll have to do another one and catch up on what happens next year or something.
Let's do like a mid-season
catch up. Yeah,
I'm sure people are going to absolutely love the whole car GP thing because it's just mental.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It's the best bit.
I'm going to find some pictures and put them up.
Yeah, cool. Right, anyway, let's give us a COVID secure.
Yeah, that's the one.